Okay, you might want to take out a piece of loose leaf paper so you can follow along and take notes. Today we're going to talk about factor by grouping, which is when you have 4 terms. So if you ever see a problem that says factor and there are 4 terms, this is factor by grouping. The steps, which you might want to write down, is to first draw a line down the center of the problem, splitting it into 2 and 2. 2 terms on the left, 2 terms on the right. We're going to factor a GCF on the left and factor a GCF on the right. After you factor out the GCFs on each side, you should be left with the same terms in the parentheses. The first factor is the 2 GCFs that you took out, and the second factor is the repeated term. You can double distribute, or we can use the box method that we went over when we multiplied to check. So if we look at the first example, step 1 is to split the question in half. 2 terms on the left, 2 on the right. I'm going to look on the left. The greatest common factor is 2x. I can divide both of those terms by 2x, or take a 2x out of each. I'm left with an x and a minus 2. This term here has to be the same over here, so x minus 2. You're going to say to yourself, what do I take out on the right to be left with x minus 2? You took out a plus 7. So my factors become the first terms, the GCFs, so your 2x plus 7, and then your repeated term, which in this case is x minus 2. And that's it. Let's look at the second one. We're going to first cut it down the middle. Make sure that you always keep that sign with the third term. On the left, my greatest common factor, the term I can pull out of both of these, 5x squared and 5x, is 5x. If I pull out that GCF, I am left with an x and a plus 1. I have to have x plus 1 over here. So on the right side, I pulled out, or my GCF is a negative 2. If you can't see that, you can always cheat a little bit, and you can take this term here and divide it by this term here. So negative 2x divided by x is negative 2. So again, my factors are the fronts, so the 5x and the minus 2, and the repeated term. Very important, this has to be the repeated term. It will always be the same on both. Next one. Again, I see 4 terms. The first thing I do is cut it in half. On the left side, my GCF, or the term I can take out of both, is a 3y. If I take out that 3y, I'm left with 2y and a plus 1. I have to have a 2y and a plus 1 on this side as well. So if I look, negative 8y divided by 2y is negative 4. And if I quickly distribute, I know that's a good greatest common factor because I will get negative 8y and negative 4. So my factors here are 3y minus 4 and 2y plus 1. For number 4, again, we're going to start by splitting it in half. On the left, the greatest common factor is an x. I'm left with 2x minus 5. I have to have 2x minus 5 on the right. So again, if I do that little cheat, negative 2x divided by 2x is negative 1. So my factors here become the first terms, so my x minus 1, and my repeated term, 2x minus 5. Last one. Don't get overwhelmed because you see a lot of letters. It's not that bad. Follow the same steps. We're going to cut it in half. On the left, I can take out an 8 and an x out of both terms. That leaves me with 2xc plus yd. This has to be the same here. 2xc plus yd. So if I look on the right side, negative 16x squared c divided by this, I'm left with negative 8 and an x. So here we get 8x minus 8x as the first factor, because that's from the front. And then my repeated factor, 2xc plus yd, as my second factor. Again, any questions, email me, ask me next time you see me.